For more than 300 years, the sun never set on the British Empire. From the crowded streets of London to the villages of India, from African coasts to icy Canadian forests, one flag ruled them all. But the British Empire did not begin with armies. It began with ships and ambition. In the late 1500s and early 1600s, England was a small island nation surrounded by stronger European powers. Spain ruled the seas. France dominated the continent. England had one choice: go outward or be crushed. So they sailed. Merchants, not soldiers, built the empire's foundation. The East India Company started as a trading business, looking for spices, silk, and profit. But trade soon turned into control. Control turned into power, and power turned into empire. Nowhere was this more visible than in India. India was not conquered overnight. It was slowly absorbed through alliances, betrayals, and manipulation of local rulers. One company, run from London boardrooms, ended up ruling over millions of people. There's a famous story that captures this imbalance. In 1757, at the Battle of Plassey, a small British force defeated a much larger Indian army, not because they were stronger, but because they bribed commanders to stand still while the battle unfolded. That single victory opened the door to nearly 2 centuries of British rule in India. By the 1800s, Britain was no longer just a trader. It was the world's factory. Coal powered its machines. Steamships ruled the oceans. Railways connected continents. British-made goods flooded global markets, while raw materials flowed back to London. But this prosperity had a cost, paid by others. In India, local industries collapsed under British policies. In Ireland, millions starved during the Great Famine while food was exported out. In Africa, borders were drawn with rulers, ignoring tribes, cultures, and histories. Yet the empire also sold a powerful story, that it was bringing civilization, law, railways, education. And for some, that story felt real. English schools produced lawyers, writers, and thinkers. Railways connected distant lands. Ports became cities. But beneath progress lay control. One of the most emotional contradictions of the British Empire is this: it taught people the language of freedom, while denying them freedom itself. By the early 1900s, the empire reached its peak. Nearly 1/4 of the world's land, nearly 1/4 of its people. British soldiers from India fought in European wars. African labor built imperial wealth. Colonies paid for Britain's comfort. The empire looked invincible. But cracks were already forming. Because empires don't fall when they are weak. They fall when they grow too large to hold. The First World War changed everything. Millions of colonial soldiers were sent to fight for Britain. Men who had never seen Europe, dying in trenches for a king they had never met. They returned home with a dangerous idea. If we can die for the empire, why can't we rule ourselves? Nationalism spread like fire. In India, a quiet man wearing simple clothes became the empire's greatest threat. Mahatma Gandhi did not raise an army. He raised conscience. Through nonviolent resistance, boycotts, and marches, he exposed the moral weakness of imperial rule. The world watched as Britain, champion of liberty, jailed peaceful protesters. Then came the Second World War. Britain won, but at a devastating cost. Its economy was shattered, its cities bombed, its power drained, and the colonies knew it. In 1947, Britain made its most painful decision. India was leaving. Independence came, but with tragedy. The partition of India and Pakistan caused one of the largest migrations in history. Over 1 million people died. Families were torn apart. Borders were soaked in blood. The empire retreated rapidly after that. Africa followed. The Middle East followed. The Caribbean followed, sometimes peacefully, sometimes violently. In Kenya, the Mau Mau uprising was crushed with brutal force. In Ireland, scars from British rule still shape politics today. In the Middle East, borders drawn by British officials continue to fuel conflict. By the late 20th century, the British Empire was gone, at least on maps. But its legacy remains everywhere. English is a global language. Parliamentary systems exist worldwide. Railways still run on colonial tracks. Cricket, law, bureaucracy, borders, echoes of empire still shape daily life. For some, the British Empire represents order and development. For others, exploitation and loss. Both are true. Empires are not villains or heroes. They are mirrors, reflecting humanity's ambition, greed, brilliance, and cruelty. The British Empire rose on innovation and confidence. It fell under the weight of its own contradictions. And its story is not just Britain's story. It is a warning to every power that believes dominance can last forever. Because no matter how vast an empire becomes, history always reminds it, the sun eventually sets.